All right, welcome back. So in this lab, we're going to create a very small network that is of two PCs, one router, and one switch. Then we can configure a network layer and a TCP/IP settings. All right, so the first thing I'll do, I'm going to go ahead and drag a router, a 1941 router, and I'll bring a switch. I'll bring a 2960 switch, right? And I'm gonna bring, if you want, one PC over here and one server over here, and we're gonna go ahead and configure them. So the first thing you're gonna say, I like to label, so I'm gonna give the router to get 192.168.1.1, okay? The switch will get 192.168.1.99 for its VLAN, it's the VLAN IP, okay, right here. This server over here will get 192.168.1.10, all right. And this is just the IP, but most settings, subnet and other, I'll do it separate. And this PC over here will get 192.168.1 let's do 1.20, and I'll correct the switch, this server right here, it should have 10, okay. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and configure, and I'm gonna drag here. This is my admin. So this is the admin station, if you want. This is the network administrator stations. So I'm gonna go ahead and cables. All right. So the first thing I go into straight to cable and go from fast Ethernet to any available port on a switch that you want. All right, and do the same thing for the second machine, second available port, fast Ethernet 2, and go to the router. I'm going to use gigabit 01 and go to a gigabit 01 on the router too, okay? All right, so now we have the physical connection, but they still, well, they will not work. So I'm going to go ahead and use a console to connect to the router and start configuring. I'm going to go ahead I'm going to start by the router. Go RS32, go to router, console to the router, then go back to here, to my PC, go to the desktop, go to terminal, and I would hit OK. Okay, you can see the router is waiting for me. As I just told you before, whenever you've been asked for this question, initial configuration, you should almost always type no. Okay, now I am at the router, and we're going to go ahead. The first thing I'll do, I'm going to go en, enable, or enable if you want. All right, to log into the router, to log into admin mode. Then I'll go to the configuration mode, config T, then start my work from there. The first thing I want to do, I want to change the router name. The host, the command that does that is known as host name, and I'm going to call it router1 instead. And notice the router is called router. As soon as I change the name to router1, router name has been changed. Next thing, I need to assign the IP addresses to the interface G1. So I'm going to do int G0/1. All right, I'm going to the interface and type IP address 192.168.1.1, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and then hit enter and type no shutdown to bring the interface up. All right, okay, now I have configured enter. Next thing, while I am the router, I should enable, I'm going to exit from here. I need to configure a password. So I'll do password, right? And I'm sorry, first is enable. Do enable space password secret. So I'll put password secret. Let me say enable password. Let me take question mark over here. Enable. It was either you can do either enable password, all right, and the password you will create is not encrypted, it's not secured, or instead you can do enable and type secret instead, and this will encrypt the password. And I'll use Cisco for my password, and I'll hit enter. The next thing, it is a common to set up what do you call it, a message of the day, I call it, for the route. So I'll do MOTD. So let's do what do you call it, message of the day. Before MOTD is first banner, MOTD, all right, £, and this is the message that you want to type. I'm just going to type warning over here, okay, and closed £, and hit enter. Now, the next thing I need to do after message of the day, I need to enable and secure what do you call it, physical access and remote access. Let's start by the physical access. To do that, we need to do line con 0, hit enter, and password is going to be, I'll just give them as Cisco con for console, hit enter, and we'll type log in. All right, now I need to configure, this is physical access, the console. Now remote access using a telnet. I'm going to do line VTY, and I'll configure 0 to 5, means 6 consecutive connections. Hit enter, and password, I'm going to put Cisco telnet, if you want, and password Cisco telnet, and I type finish the command, which is login. I hit enter. Okay, sorry. Let's do login. Once we assign the password, similar to what we did in VTY, we'll type the command use this credential for anyone that attempt to log in. We hit enter. Then I'm going to exit over here. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's exit. So we have assigned the IP addresses and configured the banner, and also configured what do you call it, the password, the admin password, in addition to the console password and the remote access password too. Now what I'll do, we're going to move on to the switch. All right. And by the way, this is I'm going to come back and save the configuration later. I'm going to move the console port from here using the X. I'm going to move this console from here. All right, and I'll take the console cable from the laptop. Now I'm going to put it on the switch, and I'm not going to repeat the same step, password and everything, because it's similar. I'm just going to do what is different for a switch. All right, so we'll click on the switch. All right, click on the laptop and go to terminal, then hit OK, and you're going to see this really similar. I am at the switch. So I'm not going to go over every single thing. I'll just do the basic things. First of all, I'm going to go to enable. All right. And once I'm in enable, I'm going to do config T. And let's go change host name to SW1. Now we are in switch 1. So I'm just going to give it an IP address. Now, unlike a router, switches don't have a physical NIC card. So you need to create a logical NIC card. Logical NIC card by using something known as a VLAN or known as SVI. So we go ahead and do interface VLAN 99, okay, and type IP address 192.168.1.1 192.168.1.99, submask 255.255.255.0, okay, and type no shutdown, like we learned before, okay. And after this, we need to assign the switch. Now the switch has an IP address. Switch would need a default gateway. To do that, we're gonna exit from here, and we'll do int. We're gonna do int. Okay. All right. So we're back. Okay, we're back. I'm gonna go ahead find out where is my devices over here. Where is my? I am at the router, so I need to be right here at the computer and try again. I was just having trouble with the password. I didn't pay attention when I typed it. Telnet 192.168.1.1 and the hit enter. The password is, I type Cisco TLENET. I don't know how we get this password. Now I'm in. And type EN to log in as an administrator. Our password here was Cisco. Now, as you can see, I'm logged in. So let's now check our configurations, our router configuration. One of the most common command you may run, if you just do show space run, and the router shows you the password right here, and keep clicking, and you see the IP configuration, the TCP IP configuration right there, and also the username and password for remote access and physical access. Next thing, let's look at the router table, our router interface. So you need to put show IP interface BR. All right, we hit enter. And here you can see all the interfaces that we had configured, and if they are up or down, and if they were assigned an IP address. So the only Ethernet card that is configured is gigabit 01, and it has the IP address 192.168.1.1, and it's manually configured, and it has and it's up, which is a good news. Now let us go and look at the routing table. Obviously, this router is not connected to no other routers, so as a result, the only route is going to know it its own route. What is it directly connected to? I mean, its own route, physical local route. So to do that, we'll do IP space. I'm sorry, first is show IP space route. And you can see here that the router is, you can see the what we call it, the CNL. It tells you that the only route that this router knows is what you call it, is the local connections, is its own local interfaces, and it tells you how we can reach it. And before I said the D, it's for, during my lecture, I said the D for OSPF. My mistake. The D is, as you can see right here, the D is for EIGRP. The three most common known routing protocols are EIGRP, OSPF, and also RIP. And OSPF has a letter O, and my mistakes, I said D on what you call it. And with this, we had configured our router, configured our switch, okay, and we made sure that this network, we configured the basic configuration. We assigned the basic configuration to the router, the basic configuration to the switch, and the basic configurations to what you call it. So briefly, what did we do before I end this one? We changed the host name on both devices. We configured IP addresses in both devices. We enabled admin password here. We use secret. We also configured VTY password. We configured line console password in the switch and message of the day. In the switch, we could do the same thing. It works the same thing. So the switch, the only thing that I told you is different. The switch don't have a physical, what do you call it? You can see here a line. Don't have a physical IP address, physical interfaces, only logical one. That's why I created the VLAN 99 and I give it the IP address, as you can see, 192.168.1.99, and bring the interface up. And I said in order to configure or access this switch from remote, you need to assign it a default gateway, and that's what we did. We signed in a default gateway. And lastly, we'll learn about how to check that your configuration are correct in both router and switch. And he said, if you want to check that, you can go do show run. You can do show IP interface brief, or if you want to see the router routing table, you go ahead and do you do show IP route, and it shows you all the routing. And with this, we're done with this lab, and thank you for watching.